So let's get into the uh, question 3, the templates and how to write your response. We'll focus on academic discussion task. So as you can see, this is a complete part for the academic discussion task. It is how it looks like. We have got the first part, which is the introductory section. Then we have got the concept or the post, which is provided by the professor here. And then we have got a question at the end of the post. Then there we have two students discussing and answering the question which the professor has posted. So here in the first part, in the first section, we have specifically the kind of class. So as we are going to the academic discussion task, the first thing we have to notice is the type of class. Which type of class is it about? Is it political science class? Is it a social science class? Is it similar art class, history class? So what type of class is that? We have to check that kind of class. Then in our response, we have to do specifically these two important things. First, in our response, we have to express and support our opinion because the question is given, so we're supposed to support it and answer the question. And finally, we'll have to make a contribution to the discussion. Contribution simply means we have to take part in what other students said, and then we can make an agreement. We can somehow write our disagreement to their point. So that's part of contribution. Take part in discussion. It's exactly contribution section. And an effective response, as the ETS itself announces, it is 100 words. So we can have more than 100 words. 120 plus word is a good response. So this is the introductory section. And after that, we have, as you can see, Dr. Williams. It's the professor. And here we have the background idea. When we are writing, scan this part because it really gives you a good clue in order to understand the question. So understanding the background and then using that background information to understand the question deeply are the two important sections for this part as well. As we can see here, we have been discussing the concept of globalization in class. And today, I'd like to ask you a question related to that topic. Some people argue that globalization is beneficial to everyone because it creates more opportunities for trade, travel, and cultural exchange. Others believe that it has negative effects on developing countries and on the environment. So overall, this is the post and it is about globalization, right? So this is the background knowledge, background information to the post. And finally, it asks the important question which we need to answer in our response. What do you think? Is globalization a positive or negative force in the world today? This is the question we need to answer in our writing. So this is called the second part of our academic discussion task. So we had, first of all, introductory session. Introductory section say that what we are expected to do. Then we have the post with a question. So read the question very, very carefully because even if you just miss one part of the question, it strongly affects your score. So the second section, which is the other students' points, it is, for example, we have we have two students answering the question, answering what the professor asked under the post. For example, the names could be Brian, could be Alex, and so on. So it was about globalization. is globalization a positive or negative force in the world today? Let's take a look at the students' responses. So the first student, we have Brian. He says, I think that globalization is a positive force overall because it brings people and cultures closer together. So it is a positive response to globalization. Trade and travel allow people to learn about different parts of the world and different ways of life. Also, look at the transition signal here. It's really important. Also, globalization can bring economic benefits to developing countries, such as access to new markets and new technologies. However, again, a good transition signal to show contrast. However, I do agree that we need to be careful to minimize the negative environmental impacts of globalization. So overall, it is Brian's idea in favor of positive impact or positive force for globalization. So he has got that positive point of view about the globalization, and the reasons are stated here. Secondly, we will have the Alex's point. Alex says, I disagree with Brian. It is a disagreement. I think that globalization has negative impacts on developing countries. So Alex is opposing what Brian thinks as a positive force. So she rejects Brian's idea and says that it is negative. It is negatively affecting developing countries. Globalization can lead to exploitation of workers and resources in developing countries by more powerful corporations and countries. Also, look again, it's transition signal, very important. Also, globalization can lead to cultural homogenization, where local cultures are lost in the pursuit of global uniformity. So I believe that globalization needs to be balanced with policies that promote fairness and respect for local cultures and environments. So she is putting the important concept of homogenization as a support for negative impact of globalization on developing countries. Homogenization, which is defined here, local cultures are lost in pursuit of global uniformity. So it is the definition of homogenization. It's a great context definition. So she is exactly disagreeing with she exactly disagrees with the globalization and says it has a negative force. So it was the second part. Now, overall, the academic discussion task is organized this way. We'll have 10 minutes to write all the task. We have to read, we have to scan, we have to write, plan, a date, and finally submit it. In 10 minutes, we have to do all of them. So here we read an online discussion. First, as you have seen, we have the professor who poses a question. Then we have two students answering or providing their opinion regarding to the professor's question. And usually when we have these students, they're not kind of rephrasing or paraphrasing the other student's opinion. Instead, they kind of might show disagreement or show that kind of rejection. They always have some kind of disapproval to each other. So the good response is usually 120 words, and then it adds to the discussion. We should not repeat exactly what other students say. We have to make contribution and add new points. It is something that many test takers make mistakes with. When you repeat one of the students' opinions without adding new points, so it will not score high. So it's really important to add new points, generate new supporting details, and then complete your response. So it's a good and important point. So how to manage your time? Time management would be an important issue as well, because if we would not be able to manage our time efficiently while we're on the test, so we're losing lots of points. We will lose, for example, especially the last part, which is editing and correcting our mistakes, reviewing it. So for time management, for the first 2 minutes, try to scan the discussion and plan it instantly. So suppose you are doing two things at the same time. You are thinking about it and scanning the whole discussion. Then in the time, the minutes between 2 to 9 minutes, we have to write our essay, and the last 2 minutes would be for editing and reviewing. So this is the time management for going ahead. So this is the whole academic discussion task. I just want you to go ahead and read it totally, and then we'll go to write a response, a sample response, and how a high scoring response would look like. So yes, please read it. So that's great. You did the reading. So we have read this. Here the main discussion is the globalization, whether it's a positive force or negative force, and that's the main question. What do you think? Is globalization a positive force or negative force? And we have read that Brian agrees with the idea that globalization is a positive force because it creates kind of trade and travel relationship and bring economic benefits. And then we have Alex. Alex says, Alex disagrees with Brian and says, no, it has negative force. It's negatively affecting the countries, especially the developing countries, because one of the reasons is homogenization. So this is what we have in the prompt. Now let's get into answering this prompt. The first way, or the first template we can usually use, is to go ahead in our first sentence, state our general opinion on the topic. What do we generally think about the topic? So do we agree or disagree? So what's our general idea regarding to the task? So that's the first step. For example, it is an example of it. We can say, in my opinion, globalization is a positive force in the world today. So it is a general opinion. So it's the first step. At the beginning of our writing, so we should try to express what we generally think about the topic. It is the first step. If you think that it has a negative force, you can say, so from my perspective or in my idea, try to use a transition word at the beginning, transition phrase to say that it's your personal experience and opinion, and then you can tell your point. Second step is to state a specific reason for your opinion and an example. It is the second step. State a specific reason. For example, here, as you can see, we have my personal belief is. When it says my personal belief is, it means it is my reason. It is my first specific reason. So what is the reason? My personal belief is that when nations interact together, it leads to less suffering. This is the reason. It causes less suffering. So this is the reason. What is the example to illustrate this idea? For example, people who suffer from natural catastrophes can import goods and services to help mitigate their losses and recover quickly. So it is one example. If there happens natural catastrophes, so that country can somehow import goods, services to decrease this kind of suffering. It's one example to illustrate for positive effect. Or citizens of nations who may be going through war or famine can flee to neighboring countries for shelter. It is another example for this one. So it is the second step. Second step in order to answer. We have first, we have the general opinion about it. Then we express our first reason. And then we have got the example for it. After stating the reason and one example at least, we will go ahead to the contribution section. In the third step, we will acknowledge the point of view of one of the speakers in the conversation. Acknowledge simply, we will show whether we agree with one of the students or disagree with one of them. After saying whether you agree or disagree, you have to explain and provide examples for that as well. So this section is exactly the contribution section, where we provide our agreement or disagreement with one of the students in the prompt and provide examples and reasons with it. So in order to do that, we can have this specific template as well. As an example, if you go ahead with a disagreement, for example, you might disagree with one of these students in the prompt, you can use this formula. You can say, I understand, and then you say the name of the person. I understand Alex's concern, for example, or I understand Brian's concern over globalization, but I believe he misses another critical point. It's disagreement. You're showing a disagreement to the point. Secondly, if you go ahead and agree with one of the students, for example, your point is the same with Alex, and you can add by saying, I totally agree with Alex's point about globalization, and I would like to add. So here you have to add your new point as well, because as I told you at the beginning, we should not repeat what the other students said. We have to add new ideas to elaborate on what we think about the topic. So elaboration and adding new point is really important. So we have got the example. From this part, we can have this contribution. I understand Alex's concern over cultural homogenization. So if you remember, one of the reasons Alex said that globalization is a negative force was homogenization. Okay, subcultures are being lost. That's what we have as homogenization. So I understand Alex's concern over cultural homogenization, but I believe she misses another critical point. It means this is a disagreement. It is a disagreement. Here, the writer is expressing a disagreement because at the beginning, if you see, the writer has mentioned that it is a positive force. So it is trying to disagree with Alex. So what is the reason for this disagreement? Much of the food found in grocery stores around the world is imported. Our very diet is due to the international trade partnerships and alliances forged over the last half of the 20th century. So it is the reason and explanation to why she misses another critical point. It is our third step in writing a response. And the final part is the summary section, where we can summarize the point. We can have one sentence or two sentences. We can have more or less. So that's based on the prompt and the ideas expressed in the response. So we can have such kind of summary. International trade and travel are not possible in a world without globalization. which is why I believe it is crucial to maintain our current global policies for a safer world with a higher standard of living. So this is exactly repeating what was stated at the beginning. So overall, look at these underlined phrases. Each of them express one part of the template. In my opinion, expressing a general idea. My personal belief is, or you can say based on my personal experience, and then you can deliver the reason for that. Then, for example, I understand, which is contribution section. I understand Alex's concern, and then you will write the topic, but I believe she misses another critical point. It's showing your disagreement to the point. So overall, yeah, we have got this complete template, and it is around 150 words, and you can do the same thing. Overall, we have these steps: stating general idea, stating a specific reason and example, and making contribution, and finally summarizing the main points. So this is the overall template for writing such a response. And yeah, you can just take a look at this one, and then we'll go to the real test. So this is the environment we have here. So we can go ahead to one of the tests. For example, the new TOEFL, it's the real one. So we'll just open one of them, and it shows the test mode or the practice mode of the report. So it has the reading, listening, writing, and speaking section. So we'll go ahead with a practice mode on writing section. Just open it. And here you can see. As soon as I click on begin, so as you can see, this is the outline in the writing section. First of all, we have build a sentence task, write an email, then write for an academic discussion task, which is the final task in the writing section. So the first one is build a sentence. We will have an overview of all the sections, and then we will return back. So for now, we will not answer the questions. We'll not build a sentence. So we'll have an overview. Then we will come back. And this is how it works, okay? As we have work, for example, I told you in build a sentence, we have to drag the word. For example, if I choose this one, for example, I may use have you, for example, have you. So what should I add the next one? We have the verb
applied.
Exactly. So it works this way. We have to drag the word and drop it here. And it is based on the situation we have already discussed. What's important and what's not important. So these were the things we
Sir, should we use all the words?
So that's based on the prompt. Often we may have one extra word, often, yeah, all the scrambled words. Again, we have build a sentence task. It works the same way, and the prompts we had. So we have around 7 of them. So yeah, this is the time remaining, so we have time still because we skipped. Then the second task is write an email task, and here, as you can see, it says you will read some information and use the information to write an email. You will have 7 minutes to write an email. Yeah, this is the task. We have got the situation first of all. Situation is given. Then the bullet points we need to answer in our email. So we'll take a look at this one. if you see here, it says you recently joined a student organization at your university that focuses on environmental conservation. The group is planning an upcoming event to raise awareness about recycling and reducing waste. You have some ideas for activities and would like to share them with the group leader, Julia. And then in our email, we have to write, describe your ideas for the awareness event, explain why you believe these activities will be effective, and the last one is offer to help organize and implement the activities. So these are the ideas we need to, or the bullet points we need to cover them into our writing. And here we can write, that's the section. And after this task, so we can go ahead with the academic discussion task. It is academic discussion task. And here it gives a short introduction to this task. A professor has posted a question about a topic and students have responded with your thoughts and ideas. Make a contribution to the discussion. And how much time do we have? 10 minutes. And this is how it looks. Okay. Here we have to write. This is how it looks. In the first part of this task, we have introduction section. This is the introductory section for academic discussion task. In the introductory section, as you can see, which type of classes the professor teaching? Teaching a class on psychology. Write a post responding to the professor's question. Here we have to do these two things as I showed you in the slide. First, express and support your opinion. Second, make a contribution to the discussion in your own words. And an effective response is 100 words. It's the ETS rubric, but if we have a high scoring response, we have to write more than that because it says contain at least 100 words, at least. And we have the professor, the Dr. Achibi. We have been discussing the role of nature versus nurture in human development. Some experts believe that genetics played the most significant role in shaping who we are, while others argue that our environment and experiences are more important. So we have two choices. Which one plays more important role? The genetic, and second is the environment and experience. Which one plays more important role in shaping who we are? And then it asks the question, which do you think has a greater impact on human development? Nurture or nature? Nature or nurture? And why? This is the question, and then we have the two students' ideas. The first student says, I think nurture has a greater impact on human development. Our environment and experiences shape our beliefs, behaviors, and personalities. While genetics provide a foundation, it is our interactions and experiences that truly define who we become. So it is Claire's opinion. She is supporting nurture instead of nature. And Paul says, in my opinion, nature has a more significant role. Genetics determine many aspects of our personality, intelligence, and physical abilities. While the environment can influence these traits, our genetic makeup is the primary factor in shaping who we are. This is what we have Paul's idea. So overall, it is academic discussion task. And then when you click to the next one, so it will be submitted.